When we have a 2 by 2 determinant, it's really easy to take the cross product and subtract. But if we have something bigger than a 2 by 2, and the next size would be a 3 by 3, since determinants can only be square, then it requires more work. We want to expand about a row or a column, and you can choose any row or any column. They ask us to use the second column, so that's what we're going to do, and you'll see why this is a good choice in just a minute. Now you can type this determinant, this array of numbers, and use the determinant command in your calculator, and you can get the number right away. But remember, you're going to have to show your work, like I'm about to show you, on your final and on your quizzes, so make sure you can do the work. It's really not very hard, you just have to remember the steps. I want to take each element in this column that I'm expanding around, and I want to multiply that element by its own cofactor. So -3 times its cofactor, and then I want to add all of those up. So plus -4 times its cofactor, and then plus 0 times its cofactor. Now hopefully you can see why it's a good idea to pick a row or a column that has a 0 in it, because if I multiply an element that is 0 by its cofactor, it really doesn't matter what the cofactor is, because whatever number it turns out to be when I multiply it by 0, I'm going to get a 0 for that term, so it saves me some work. Now let's go back and fill in our cofactor like we did on the previous slide, and then multiply that cofactor by its element, -3. To find the cofactor, and this bracket is just a grouping symbol, to find the cofactor, first I need the sign, and then I need the minor. So this is a 3 by 3. I want a 3 by 3 sign chart. And since I'm talking about row 1 and column 2, I'm going to start with a negative. So I want the opposite of the minor. And the minor is the determinant that I get when I take out the row and the column of that element. So what's left is -1, -3, -1, and 2. So that's my first element. Now I want to go to the next element and multiply it by its cofactor. So plus -4 means -4. I'm going to simplify that a little bit. And then I want the cofactor for that element, -4. I need a sign, so I go to my sign chart and look at that position in row 2, column 2. It's right here. It's a plus. The signs always alternate. So I have a plus, which you can write or not, and then the determinant that I get when I take out the row and the column that includes the element -4. That leaves me the array 2, -2, -1, and 2. And then plus the 0 that we talked about before. Now I can go back and I can evaluate each of these determinants. So I'm going to keep my -3 out first, organize your work, and then I want to take the opposite of the value that this determinant represents. Multiply -1 times 2 and you get -2, minus -1 times -3 is +3, and then -4 times 2 times 2 is 4, minus -1 times -2 is +2. And then the rest is arithmetic. -2 minus 3 is -5. I want to take the opposite of that. That would be +5, and then I want to multiply that by -3. So -15 minus 4 minus 2 is 2. Multiply that by 4, and I get 8, so -8. And my answer is -23. You can check that in your calculator, but make sure that you can do the work by hand.